and welcome to The Walk. I'm your host, Jesse. Let's take a little half-hour walk before work today. In case you're new to the channel, we are firm believers that if you walk every single day, first thing in the morning, not only will you start each and every day off on the right foot, but after about 60 to 90 days, you'll start to lose some pretty significant weight. And in the meantime, you'll gain a little bit of muscle. So welcome to our walk. Let's do this together and let's change our lives together, shall we? Guys, we got a little update on the judge that was shot in Kentucky by Sheriff Steins. I don't know if you guys remember this story from a couple weeks back, but for whatever reason, the sheriff went into a office of the judges there right at the courthouse and took his life. And apparently the only thing that we've been told about what happened thus far is that apparently Sheriff Steins, when he was in the office with the judge, Judge Mullins, I believe is his name, what happened is Sheriff Steins pulled out his cell phone and called his daughter. And then what he did was he took the judge's cell phone and he called his daughter. Now, I don't know about you guys, but the only thing I can think of that would lead one man to take another man's life in such a scenario would be a situation where the judge must have done something either to or with the sheriff's daughter. And based on the age of the sheriff, he looks old enough where I'm guessing his daughter is an adult. So I don't know what happened, but I'm guessing it has something to do with some sort of situation where the sheriff feels like the judge did something either wrong towards the sheriff's daughter, or there's something going on there. So I'm really interested to see if we ever do get the full details on what happened. But are you guys on the same page that I am? Are you guys thinking that it must be a situation where the sheriff felt like something happened to his daughter from the judge? That's the only thing that I can possibly think of. Either way, it must have been somewhat bad on the judge's account, because otherwise, I just can't imagine somebody taking another person's life for anything less than something really, really bad. So, although right now it looks horrible for the sheriff, supposedly the only thing the sheriff said when he was arrested is "treat me fair." So I don't know, that sounds really intriguing. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody ends up writing a book about this, and I wouldn't be surprised if there ends up being some sort of scandal that's discovered throughout this process. I find it really, really juicy and interesting, and I'm sorry that Judge Mullins lost his life, but before we pass judgment, let's see why the sheriff did this. Here's the interesting thing. If a sheriff is willing to do something like this, then this lets me know we should probably look into the sheriff's past. Because if it is a situation where the sheriff is just really overreacting to something, it kind of makes you wonder, did he overreact in other situations in the past? And will we end up having people come forward? Because if this man was responsible for putting me or any of my family members behind bars, I would probably look at an opportunity like this and say, hey, here's our chance to re-up with our lawyers and get out of jail. Now, I'm not saying that that criminals and bad people should get out of jail necessarily, but at the same time, what if your son or daughter's case was iffy and this sheriff was the reason that your son or daughter got in trouble? I don't know about you, but it would make me want to reach out to the lawyer and see if there's anything we can do. And this is yet again another reason why when people are in law enforcement and they jump over that fine line and become a criminal themselves, that's why it's so bad. Because if you think about it, it leads to a situation where a lot of people that have been placed into jail or they're going through their punishments in life, a lot of times it opens up a big can of worms where all of a sudden you have all these people trying to get new trials because your shady sheriff was the reason they got put behind bars. Now, that doesn't mean that he was shady in putting them behind bars, but again, once you're shady in one part of life, a lot of times we find out you're just shady throughout your life. So again, I'm really looking forward to seeing if we ever find out what exactly happened, and if there ends up being a long, drawn-out court case, this might be one of those that would be interesting to watch if it's available on TV. Every few days, I've been telling you guys about this place called Ashville, North Carolina, and the people that live around Asheville. I believe it was yesterday or the day before I told you that there was a lady that said that when you go into Asheville, the smell is just atrocious. Well, I found out something that was absolutely horrible today. Apparently, Asheville, North Carolina is in the western part of the state. Apparently, the coastal parts of North Carolina on the eastern part of the state, many of those are naturally covered with national flood insurance because they live in flood zones, so to speak. But the people in the western side of the state, you're not going to believe this, guys. About 1 out of 200 people on the west have insurance for this situation. So they were making the point on the news that unfortunately a lot of these people aren't going to get any relief, at least not from insurance. And I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Asheville went through basically what looks like a war zone. Even though it wasn't a war zone, it was all done through these hurricane-like storms, right, that went through the area. But can you guys imagine how devastating it's going to be when we figure out that, yeah, only 1 out of 200 people are insured? I don't know what's going to happen unless the government, pulls up a bunch of money for relief and gives it to these people so they can rebuild. But I think it would be a crying shame if these people weren't given any relief simply because they live in the side of the state where normally these storms don't happen. As a matter of fact, to give you an idea of how unlikely this was considered, many people that moved to that area moved from the eastern areas that were flood prone. So many of them moved to that area specifically because they didn't have to worry about that stuff anymore. So imagine that nightmare scenario. That reminds me of when it floods here in Arizona. We don't have very good irrigation systems, so if it rains too much, our streets literally get flooded and it takes them a little while to subside. And that's in Arizona where it barely rains. If we had the rain like you guys do in different parts of the country or even different parts of the world, oh my goodness, Arizona would be in trouble. But again, we have the sun that's out so much, and even when it's a heavy rain for us, a heavy rain might be over the course of a weekend, where with many Americans, God, a heavy rain could last weeks on end, or at least multiple days on end, more than 1 or 2 like here. So again, if you're in one of these parts of the country, or if you have family members that are, our prayers go out to you. And I'm sorry that you're going through this. What a nightmare. If you have any thoughts and prayers for these people, maybe you could share down below. Again, total horrible situation. On a sobering note, I like to tell my venters everything that's going on with the channel. And you guys know as well as I do that when I hit a roadblock, I try to look at it as in, let's find another way around this roadblock, right? Let's figure a way to get through this. So last night, I record my video, I edit my video, and I'm going to upload it. And then I realize I've been giving a copyright not notice, where you can kind of reach out to somebody and get it removed, but a copyright strike, which is, a bad situation. You're allowed to get up to 3 copyright strikes in a 90-day period, but if you do, you lose your channel. So every strike is just a bad situation. So I don't know if you guys remember, but the other day I did a video on people that were broke or hurting financially, right? Some of them had a situation where they didn't have enough money to move to a different apartment. Some of them had a situation where they were broke and they were fearing losing their job. And one of those people that I recorded, because I put 3 people's stories into that one vent video, one of those people ended up putting a copyright strike on me. So as a copyright strike is on, I had to go to copyright school, which is basically where you watch a 5 or 6 minute YouTube video on why copyright violations are so horrible. But here's the thing, there's an act. It's the 1976 Fair Use Act. And it basically states that, hey, somebody is allowed to take pieces of your video and do commentary for educational or entertainment purposes. And that's how I view my videos, because as you guys know, there's 1,000,001 reasons to walk. Not all of them are related to weight loss. Sometimes we need to walk because we anticipate a job is going to be ending. Sometimes we need to walk because of stresses of life, right? Maybe we're going through a divorce. There's 1,000,000 reasons to walk, not just weight loss. And so we had this video where I'm showing these people, and some of these videos are, within a year or 2. But some of these videos are from 3, 4, 5 years ago, and many times I like to show the videos of YouTubers who didn't necessarily get 1,000,000 views, that weren't necessarily the biggest YouTubers. So I got this copyright strike, right? And I reach out to the gentleman via email, and I just say, hey, look, I used the equivalent of about 1 minute of your video, made 2 or 3 comments on it. It was basically positive, saying, hey, I hope other people don't have to go through this, but look at the pain in this gentleman's eyes. I was able to take off the background noise, because in the background noise of this guy's video, it sounded like planes were flying overhead, and it sounded like he was really right there next to a mechanic, as a mechanic's working on a car. It sounded that loud. So I was able to make the audio go from basically poor quality to relatively okay or decent quality, which, believe me, was a big jump. You guys probably just didn't hear what the original video sounded like. So anyway, I get this copyright strike, and again, from what I understand, people can send you like a copyright notification, or they can go full-blown copyright strike, take the video down. And I don't know if you guys agree, but it's really kind of crappy when you have a video that's 10, 15 minutes long and some guy wants you to remove it because you have a 45-minute or a minute-and-a-half little snidbit of him. And so I just thought, hey, this is kind of goofy. So I sent him an email and I said, hey, look, take that copyright strike down. But here's the thing, unless he does take it down, I have that 1 strike. And the reality is, anybody that you do a reaction video on can throw up a copyright strike on you. And YouTube doesn't really have a situation where you can fight it real decently or real well. It's kind of like, hey, you're guilty until proven innocent. But I think you guys know that I don't just take somebody's video and upload it. I usually take somebody's video and I upload pieces of it, and then I make a reaction on it. So I think we would all agree that I'm not just uploading someone's video. And I upload a video every single day, so you guys have obviously seen that I obviously make commentary. So am I upset about this? No. I think what happened is, I think it's human nature where if you made a video, let's say from 4 or 5 years ago, and you're a man, and all of a sudden on this video, you look really kind of sad. In the video, if you remember, he's kind of tearing up and crying. And I think what happened is, I think when he saw the video, he probably just didn't like the way he looked on it. If I were to give my honest opinion. And I think he just got upset and did a copyright strike. So I had to email him, and in the email, I basically just said, hey, look, I made a commentary on your video. Please take off the copyright. But here's the thing. I can't force him to take it off. I can fight the copyright, but from what I understand, when you fight it, it's basically just where YouTube sends them an email stating, hey, here's the reasons the person's fighting this. And I think it's still up to the person's video, or the person that has the original video. In other words, I don't know if there's anything much I can do about it other than asking him to remove the strike. But here's the problem. If he removes the strike, great, we go right back to doing business as usual, right? But if he doesn't remove the strike for whatever reason, then it really puts me behind the 8 ball, because I have a situation where I need your ventor's input here, because I can't afford to have a situation where I wake up one day and I have 3 strikes and my ability to do a YouTube video from that point on is eliminated. I mean, this is a serious deal where you guys could wake up one day and Walk Talk Vent, in theory, could be gone if you get 3 of these strikes within a 90-day period. And I know you're thinking, well, Jesse, what are the odds that you're going to get 3 of these people in a 90-day period? Guys, whether it's a high probability or low, it's one of those things that I don't necessarily want a chance, because of how important it is to be able to walk with you guys. So it puts me in one of those, hey, back to the lab again scenarios. So there's a couple of things we can do where I can safely do a reaction video. Number one, I could reach out to people in advance and get their permission. Well, Jesse, how come you weren't doing that already? Well, there's an obvious reason, Bob. Number one, with fair use, you don't necessarily have to ask every Tom, Dick, and Harry when you want to make a reaction video. Number two, God, probably 1 out of every 10 YouTube videos is some sort of reaction video. So it's not like I'm doing anything out of the ordinary. The only thing is I feel like with our show, I'm doing something unique, right? But it's not out of the ordinary. There's other reaction videos on there. So what I'm thinking I'll do is I'll reach out to people, see if I can get some of them to give me the green light to do reactions on their videos. If some of you guys are able to reach out to people too, I'm not going to stop you. You can. I'm not asking you to, though, because that's a lot. But basically, if I absolutely have to, if this gentleman doesn't want to take the copyright strike down, then I might have to do some other things. For example, there's nothing stopping me from going to areas like strip malls and finding people to do interviews on. Here's the problem. What are the odds that I'll be able to rack up enough interviews without making my life drastically different, where I can do an upload every night? Another thing I could do is, and I've been contemplating doing this, but I was hoping to delay this for a little while, is I can start doing reactions to actual news clippings and articles. Here's the shitty thing with that. If you try to look at any newspaper article, a lot of times they want you to pay $1 a month to be a part of watching their stuff. So I'm hoping I can get into a situation where even if I find newspaper articles to do reactions to, I'm hoping it doesn't cost me $1 a month for every darn newspaper story that I want to share with you guys. And when I say newspaper, I'm obviously talking about the digital media version of different newspapers around the country with their various articles. But my ultimate goal is, hey, we're a team. I'm sharing this with you. I don't really want my show to just be 100% the walk, but I don't know if you guys agree or not. If it means losing my channel or keeping it up, I'd like to be able to keep it up. And that was one of the things I put in the email to this gentleman. I said, look, you're seeing an event where you were one person, and here's the thing, 12-minute video, and this guy's only on it for like a minute and a half, you know, and it's just like, come on, sir. This is a little bit much, right? But at the same time, again, by me putting myself in his place, you know, you have this video up where you're basically tearing up and crying, and you know how a lot of guys are. They don't necessarily want to know that people are watching this video. Here's where I have a chance that hopefully he'll understand where I'm coming from. It's not like I put up a private video of his, it's a public video of his. So in theory, anybody could have found his video regardless. So I don't think he's gonna come back at me with the argument of, I don't want people seeing me in that light. And number two, I'm not the biggest YouTube channel, and only 30 people had viewed his video or that video altogether. So it's not like I'm one of these guys where he has to worry about it going viral and 1 million people are gonna see it, at least not at this point in the game. So because I'm still somebody that I would consider brand new at YouTube, this is one of those learning curves that I have to deal with. Believe it or not, this is not my first violation, this is my second. But on the first one, when I called the guy and asked him to remove his copyright, he came back to me and said, I'm trying, it won't let me. So I don't know if that was bullshit or not. It was probably bullshit. But anyway, that one was one where if I agreed to take down the video, YouTube wouldn't even count it against me. So I just removed that video, and it was from months back. So this is just my first strike, but at the same time, God, it's kind of scary because YouTube lets you know, hey, if you get 3 strikes, we're gonna take down this channel, any other channels you might have, and your ability to do uploads in the future will be denied. Now, I'm sure there's some people that have gotten by that because there's always exceptions to the rule, but wouldn't that be a damn shame if all of a sudden you couldn't share your videos, period? So again, I'm saying my little prayer that hopefully this YouTuber is down to earth. I even told him, I said, look, why don't you give me an opportunity to go into that video and I'll clip your portion out. And you know, some of you guys watching this might say, Jesse, this is one of those where I agree with the other guy. You should have to ask him permission, you know, before you do any sort of reaction to their video. Guys, here's the problem with that. If you reach out to everybody before you do a video on them, number one, the idea of uploading a video daily goes out the window. It just takes people too long to respond. And it takes me forever each night just to find a video that I want to share with you guys. Number two, if you ask everybody's permission to do a video, guess what's going to happen? They're only going to let you do a video if you show them in a positive light, if the video is basically monitored by them, and if you basically do whatever they want you to do. And they're probably going to say, hey, I want you to do a reaction on this video only. And so before you know it, your show is compromised. I don't want my show predicated by the guests. I want to share the guests. Testing. Okay. I don't want to have a show where I'm at the mercy of the guests, right? Because sometimes you're going to say a rebuttal or a reaction to the guest that they might not necessarily like, right? Especially when it comes to something like body positivity or body acceptance, right? Especially when it comes to things like divorce and, hey, you know, I'm looking at it from both people's points of view. What's the one thing that your friend Carla hates when she's complaining about her husband? She hates when you speak on behalf of the husband to try to look at his point of view. Now, is Carla 100% of the time going to be like that? No, Carla's in real life sometimes are okay with you sharing different points of view, but sometimes people don't want you to know what the other person's point of view is. Sometimes they don't want to hear your opinion on that, but that's where there's a fine line. This is my video, not yours. This is my audience, and I'm trying to share your video with my audience. And you guys know as well as I do, there's been many times where my people that watch my videos will go to these other videos I share and they'll end up subscribing to their channel. And 99% of the time, guys, when people do leave a comment, you guys have seen them. Most of the time they're like, hey, thanks for remixing my video. Thanks for sharing my video. I appreciate you. I subscribed. I mean, most people are really happy when you share their video with people, good, bad, or ugly. So again, this is one of those things that YouTube actually thrives off of reaction channels. It's very, very rare that you see a reaction channel that doesn't have viewership. As a matter of fact, out of all the reaction channels, I'm probably the absolute smallest, literally the smallest one I've ever seen. So again, I know that all these other videos deal with it because I've seen a lot of times where the person freaks out about it. Here's the advantage I have. It's not like I'm making $1 million on YouTube, so if it ended tomorrow, it's not a financial loss. What it would be is even worse than financial. I would lose you guys. So again, it's one of those things where I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on this, because the last thing I want to do is lose you, because in theory, if you lose your YouTube channel, you should just be able to start up another one. But from what I understand, that might not be possible. And my God, I never thought I would be depressed to lose my YouTube channel before I had it. But now that I have it, the last thing I want to do is lose it. So I did put a video up last night. It was just a little extra credit video that I had lying around from a couple of days ago. And it was a goofy one where I'm basically telling you the aliens are coming down to eat you. If you watched that video and you thought it was goofy, I apologize. It was one that I had to throw up in a pinch. I also had a silent video where it's me just walking and I turn the camera around, but I didn't realize how shaky it was. If you guys can imagine, it's not even looking straight. It's like looking at this weird angle, and you almost get seasick while you're watching it. And I even tried doing stabilization techniques to it on my editing software, and it still gave me seasickness. So I couldn't put that video up either. So again, 1,000 apologies in case you guys were hoping to watch the vent portion like you normally do.